to order this hearing of the Senate Tax Committee. It is April 16th, and it is 8:35 a.m. Quorum is present, finally. First item is approval of the minutes from April 15th. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes as presented? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as presented. First bill before us is Senator Champion, Senate File 4872. Senator Champion has an author's amendment. Senator Housechild moves on behalf of the author the A3. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'll say that again. All those in favor,
Aye.
please say aye. Sure, okay. Opposed, no. The motion prevails, and the, what did you say? Oh, I'm listening, yeah. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. Senator Champion, welcome to the committee.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to the committee for allowing me some time with you today. I want to make sure that before I get into the bill itself, that I give the committee some context. What we're talking about today is U.S. Bank Stadium. And I think it's important for you to know some things about this stadium deal. The city of Minneapolis has, there are 4 financial tranches when we think in terms of this stadium contributions. Number 1, the city of Minneapolis is required and still will be required even after this bill to pay $150 million in stadium construction bonds. That is still a requirement. They will still have to do it. And just so that you know, that the net value of the $150 million towards the initial construction costs, there was an annual payment reset in 2023. Now the city contributes roughly $6.6 million annually into the state's general fund, and that's ongoing. And so the total to date is $48 million. And from now to 2046, and I'm only talking about the construction bonds, there will be an additional $139 million that the city of Minneapolis will be required to pay. And there's nothing in my legislation that would change that. That is still an ongoing requirement. The second tranche that the city of Minneapolis is required to pay is around capital improvements. Now, that is a shared responsibility between the city of Minneapolis and the Vikings. Now, the capital improvements, that fund, it grows at an annual adjustment factor based on sales tax growth. And to date, the city of Minneapolis has paid $9 million. And if you want me to tell you what the Vikings have paid, I can certainly do that. But from now to 2046, there is a projected additional $57 million that will be paid by the city of Minneapolis. And just so folks understand, the city will still be required to make that contribution even after passage of Senate File 4872. The third area is the city's requirement to contribute towards the operating reserves. That grows at an annual adjustment rate factor based on sales tax growth. Again, to date, $37 million. From now to 2046, there is a projected annual, additional cost of $226 million. Nothing in this proposal I'm putting forth will change that. That will be ongoing. The place of space that I am going to ask you to concentrate on, and just so that we're clear, with the operating reserve fund, not only does the city pay, but the Vikings pay. That will still be ongoing. We are not asking to change that at all. The place where there is some concern, and what my bill will seek to address, is money to the Minnesota Sports Facilities Authority as well as the state's general fund. There is what we call an excess sales tax that is collected by the state of Minnesota in a certain geographical area of downtown Minneapolis. And right now, from now between now and 2046, if nothing changes, the city of Minneapolis will be required to contribute an additional $64 million. Now, that number fluctuates because it could be between $50 and $80 million that goes to this Minnesota Sports Facilities Authority. Now, in 2023, there was a change because those funds were now supposed to be used for capital improvements, but capital improvements has its own category that we would still be required to pay, and to ask the city of Minneapolis to continue doing double payments is unfortunate. Now, just so that folks would know, because when I looked at these 4 different tranches, I thought to myself, why did the city of Minneapolis, why were they required to make this 4th payment where money goes to the Sports Authority and additional funds were put into the state's general fund? At the time when this was done, there was a concern about having enough money to be able to pay for the construction bonds and to keep that obligation forward. But just so folks know, capital improvements, operating costs, the city's responsibility around the $150 million bond continues. This 4th tranche, which is the challenge. Now, this also comes on a backdrop, Madam Chair, of the city of Minneapolis just reported that their downtown commercial property has decreased by 20%. I'll repeat that that's by 20%, and I have some others here who could correct me if I'm wrong. I've got finance people who can correct anything that I'm saying. And I know that they will, because I haven't threatened them or anything. I haven't told them that they could not disagree with me. By 20%. So at a time when there needs to be some tightening of our belt, here's what we understand. If the city of Minneapolis is not able to find a way to cover that 20% decrease in commercial property, then that means that money will now be the requirement of property tax holders. It will be passed on. And we do not believe that it would make sense for us to continue to pay that money to the Sports Authority and some additional money to the state general fund for that only excess tax fund. So that's the 4th tranche. So with that being said, let me tell you what the bill does, and then we can go to my testifiers. Section 1 is a general fund allocation. It strikes language requiring the Commissioner of Revenue to retain certain Minneapolis local sales tax revenues for the benefit of the Minnesota Sports Facilities Authority, and requiring the authority to use those revenues for capital improvements to the U.S. Bank Stadium and stadium infrastructure, effective the day following enactment. Just so that you know, remember I told you there's 4 tranches, and 2 and 3 still remain intact. Section 2 is the downtown taxing area. It modifies the boundaries of this taxing area that I've talked about, in which Minneapolis local specialty taxes apply to include the North Loop, and that would become effective for sales and purchases made after September 30th, 2026. It's the philosophy that many hands makes the load light, and so then that way we can retain that revenue in order to benefit the city and take care of this solid economic engine for the state. Section 3 is the appropriation for the PGA Championships event. It appropriates $7 million in fiscal year 2027 from the general fund to the director of Explore Minnesota for a grant to the city of Chaska to attract and for costs associated with hosting various PGA events. Up to 2% may be used for administrative costs. This is a one-time appropriation and available until June 30th, 2029. Last but certainly not least, there's a cancellation paragraph, and it cancels the unobligated amount estimated to be $5,967,000 from the general fund appropriation, and I'm sure the fiscal staff can talk about that, as well as a paragraph that cancels a little over $1 million of a Minnesota Forward Fund appropriation to match the federal funds that fund I came up with in Jobs and Economic Development. And so then Section 5, again, financial issues, it transfers that money from one fiscal year to the other. That's just a technical issue from my understanding of talking to staff. Members, I wanted to painfully go through that in order for you to understand that the city of Minneapolis will still be required to pay for capital operating, for capital improvements, and their commitment to repay the bonds. I just want folks to know that. Madam Chair, thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. Senator Champion, before we go to the witnesses, are there any questions? Senator Weber, and then Senator Nelson, and then we'll go to the testifiers. Senator Weber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess the one question, and I had to arrive late, and if this was covered, I apologize. What is the expected reduction in payment to the sports facility as a result of this bill, Senator Champion?
Madam Chair,
Senator Champion.
Senator Weber, one is it would not continue to make that commitment to the Sports Authority, because anything that we need to do around capital improvements is already a part of the agreement and is already covered for when we think in terms of the contribution between the Vikings and the city of Minneapolis. As I mentioned earlier, and you were not here, is that those revenues that are collected in this geographical area would, once it reaches a certain cap, goes to the state's general fund and to the Sports Authority. Prior to 2023, the Sports Authority could use the money in any way that they wanted to, and we would have no accounting and nothing. But then in 2023, there was some limits on what they could do with the revenue. But we believe that if there is going to be support for the Sports Authority, that should come from the state and not solely from the city's resources. And if there is going to be such a contribution, then that should be a conversation between the city and the Vikings as to the need for that Sports Authority, because that's only for the U.S. Bank Stadium. I know that Senator Miller and I've talked about, and I know that the chair has talked about there being a broader group that could deal with soliciting, engaging in our country of bringing more and more events to the state. And this Sports Authority does not do that. It's only for the U.S. Bank Stadium.
Senator Weber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, Madam Chair, my question is, what is the expected reduction?
Okay, got it. I'll go to Angie Skildum, who can speak to that question, and I can certainly follow up. I did talk about it earlier, but I think she might be much more articulate about it than I.
Thank you, Senator Champion. Ms. Skildum, if you would identify yourself for the record, you may answer or address Senator Weber's question.
Thank you, Chair Rust. I'm Angie Skildum. I'm the Director of the Development Finance Team at the City of Minneapolis in the Finance and Property Services Department. Through the Chair, Senator, we project that if that fourth tranche was eliminated starting in 2027, that would save about $62 million in payments going forward. The city would still be responsible for and paying in about $597 million additional dollars in total of the city's obligation over that same period. So $597 million of obligation will remain $62 million of obligation will be eliminated.
Senator Weber?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And that's over a period of how many years?
Through the chair, Senator, that goes through 2046, so another 20 years.
Okay,
Senator Weber?
okay, that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Nelson, then Senator Dillon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the good discussion. That hit a lot of my questions. The one remaining question, though, following that is I just want clarity on the 62 million. That is all in. That is for the 20 years. $62 million over 20 years is what you're seeking to repurpose from obligations to the Sports Authority to maintain the building to the city of Minneapolis. Is that correct?
Senator Champion?
Madam Chair and Senator Nelson, yes to your question, but I want to make sure that you understand that the city's obligation to still provide contributions towards the improvements for the stadium would remain. Because remember, there are 4 tranches. That's why I painfully went through each of those. So the capital improvements contributions along with the Vikings, that remains. That doesn't change at all. So what has been put in statute and what has been agreed to as it pertains to capital improvements, that remains. But specifically, the 62 million is what is collected that we believe that the city should be able to repurpose and not spend that money or give that money to the Sports Authority. But the obligation, and I keep repeating this because this is important to understand, the obligation to keep the U.S. Bank Stadium up to par and to make improvements for operations, even the city's contributions for bonding of another 139 million from now to 2046 remains, even though the bonds for the stadium were refinanced and there's no obligation for any additional ongoing payments towards any bonds.
Senator Nelson?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Champion. So I still have a couple questions that might need to be answered later, but maybe we have the answer now. I'd like to know where is the language that describes what the 4th tranche, as you would say, of dollars is required to go to? What things does that 4th tranche, or that $62 million, pay for, or is required to pay for, and will no longer be required to pay for? Is there a spot where it lists what will no longer be paid for by the city of Minneapolis?
Excuse me, Senator Champion. You know, I think some of the questions may be answered by the testifiers
I can
who have
see-
more technical appreciation for the nature of your question, if you don't mind, Senator Nelson.
Yeah. Madam Chair, I will be more than happy to
Sure.
withhold
Thank
my
you.
questions till we get all the
Thank you
information on the
very
table.
much.
Thank you.
Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to maybe restate some of what Senator Champion has already said, but and also give everyone a sense of proportion and perspective about what we're talking about here. When we talk about what the city wouldn't be doing going prospectively, I would just invite everyone to focus on the fact the city is going to be putting in something north of $550 million. The largest contributor to the benefit, the operation, the capital for the Viking Stadium. The state is putting in nothing because those bonds were defeased and the state was out. But even the resources that were captured from the city of Minneapolis to pay those bonds, the city wasn't relieved from that obligation to continue paying to the stadium. So something important to remember. Another thing to remember by way of history is, there's this term excess something, there's no excess anything. I don't know why that term is being used. There are, I think, 4 separate sales taxes already existing at the time that the Viking Stadium was built. And a portion, or all of those in some cases, were captured for this purpose. I think Senator Champion articulated well. We have the changing nature of work and living patterns and the like. Downtown Minneapolis, as the work and central business district hub for the region and for the city certainly has been diluted to a large degree. And so the budgetary challenges are very different at the time at which the Viking Stadium was negotiated, and then after the debt service was eliminated in that negotiation. And I just want to emphasize again, I've said it before in this committee, that fifth tranche, which was then folded into the fourth tranche. I was there when it happened. It happened under the deep cover of night. A little extra was plucked out of Minneapolis, put into a mysterious fund for the Facilities Authority to do whatever it wanted to, with no accountability, no purpose, no designation. I refer to quite facetiously as their muffin fund. Suddenly when the city said, okay, it's time to look at this whole deal fresh, and hey, they're just getting a bunch of money for something we don't, all of a sudden became the most important money they ever got in their entire lives since the day they were born. Oh no, we have to hang on to all that. We're just opening up that conversation again.
Thank you, Senator Dibble, for that further information. I will turn to the testifiers, and we'll go back to Ms. Gildem if you want to continue with your comments, and then we'll turn to Councilmember Rainbow.
And also answer her question, too.
Yes, thank you, Chair Rest. I don't have any testimony comments. We'll let Councilmember Rainville do that, but I can address, I think, Senator Nelson's question. if
Please do.
That's okay. Through the chair, Senator Nelson. So the part of the language that defines what the 62 million would be going to, in the original language of the deal, the use of that money was undefined. In the 2023 legislature, there was a stipulation placed that money be specifically used by the Sports Facilities Authority for capital improvements to the stadium. And that language is reflected in the amendment before you on line 2. On the section that's stricken starting on line 2.11. That's where it was directed to be restricted to the stadium. In the event that occurs, the city is still only able to use that money alternatively for reasons that are defined in statute for the use of these taxes in the first place, which includes largely maintaining our downtown regional assets. So Minneapolis is a little bit unique in that we have several large downtown regional assets that we are responsible for maintaining, and that's what these taxes are for. And so the money can't just be generally repurposed, it still has to be used in accordance with the language of the statute. So hope that's clarifying.
And we are still responsible for the capital improvements.
Correct, yes, and all of the other stadium obligations still remain.
Thank you, Ms. Gildem. Welcome to the committee, Councilmember Rainville. We're pleased to have you here. If you'd identify yourself for the record.
Good morning, Chair Rust. It's a pleasure to see you again.
Thank you.
And members of the committee, my name is Michael Rainville. I'm the council member for Ward 3 in Minneapolis. That's where the North Loop is located. And I'm pleased to testify in support of Senate File 4872, which would add the North Loop neighborhood to the city of Minneapolis' existing downtown taxing boundary. The downtown taxing boundary district was first established in 1986 when the state authorized collection of a series of special Minneapolis taxes to fund development, construction, maintenance, improvement, and promotion of the convention center and related downtown asset facilities. Two of the special local taxes, a 3% liquor tax and a 3% restaurant tax, apply only in the downtown taxing area. We believe expansion of the taxing boundary would bring it more in line with the scope of downtown activity as it exists today, and ensures that there is fairness between businesses located in a downtown. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. Currently, the downtown liquor tax applies if you purchase a beer for a show at the Fine Line, which is it's a music venue on First Avenue and 4th Street, but it doesn't apply to the Fillmore music venue, which is on 5th Avenue and 5th Street. These theaters are just a few blocks apart, and both are generally considered to be downtown. Revenues from the downtown restaurant and liquor taxes, along with the city's sales tax and lodging tax, are retained by the state for the city's obligation to US Bank Stadium. And you've heard how much money that we pay for that stadium. The city will continue to honor its commitment to paying for the annual operating cost and capital contribution for US Bank Stadium, and it will continue to repay the state for the city's portion of the defeased construction bonds, even though they're paid off. This bill doesn't do anything to change that. This bill, as amended, would eliminate a fourth obligation to the stadium, on top of the city's capital and operating obligations. It is important to note that the state owns US Bank Stadium, not the city of Minneapolis. We appreciate Senator Champion, and for the record, I never argue with you, Senator Champion. But we appreciate his bringing this proposal forward at a time when the city is recovering from the impacts of the last several years. You heard that our property tax values in downtown have decreased by 20%. This shift in the downtown property values is concerning, and it's important for us to have a diverse revenue source. Madam Chair and members of the committee, I thank you. As a public servant, I, along with you, do make tough choices, wise choices for the good of the community. I ask you to help the city of Minneapolis. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Rainville. Are there any other questions or comments for Senator Champion or his testifiers? Seeing none, thank you very much, Senator Nelson. You had more questions. Go right ahead.
Yes, thank you. So I appreciate the discussion, and I definitely understand the problems with the soaring property taxes. We're seeing them all over the state. Part of it is what happened right here in this capital. We placed all those unfunded mandates on cities, county schools. They have one place to go, the property tax holder. We're getting that all across the state. And I am aware of the special challenges for Minneapolis. Specifically, as my colleague mentioned, work habits are changing. Life changes, the way we work, the way we live changes, and so as many people are not working downtown. You want to understand that. It means we see all the empty buildings, the empty office buildings, all of that. Our commercial property tax payers pay the highest rate, so I understand the fiscal challenge that this bill is trying to address. But what I want to be sure is on the record is what my concern is with this. I don't know that this is the best way forward. I am concerned that not too many years from now, we'll be back. Someone will be back and from Minneapolis saying that, we can't afford, there's other things happening. And I don't know if the city is going to have the wherewithal to keep that stadium in the shape that it needs to be. And that's what I'd be looking for, Madam Chair, is how would we ensure, because we have a stadium right down the street here in St. Paul that has been neglected, and now it's coming to the state, to the taxpayers, to pay for upkeep. And so I just want some assurance that Minneapolis is going to not come to the state for upkeep that would have been paid for by the $62 million, which now has become part of the general fund. That's my concern.
Well, Senator Nelson, I think the history of the financial responsibility for stadiums and arenas is vastly different in the city of Minneapolis than it is in the city of St. Paul. And so I think we can put a bit of trust in that as well. That has never been the case in the city of Minneapolis, or the facilities that it and/or Hennepin County are affiliated with. Senator Dibble, we do have a call on you, but we have, 11 more bills.
I'll just make a very quick point then,
Thank you.
Madam Chair, which is I think it's important to remember that the U.S. Bank Stadium serves as the host facility to the Vikings. The Vikings, probably have revenue of, they're putting in, less at this point than the city of Minneapolis is into the upkeep and capital maintenance of the facility, yet they're making several $100 million every year from the facility itself. That's how they generate a good portion of their revenue. They're a team that was bought for, when it was purchased by the current family that owns it, it was worth, in today's dollars, bought for about $600 million. I think it's worth about $1 billion. It was worth about $1 billion in today's money. Today it's valued, estimated at $6 billion with, an average player salary of $6 to $7 million. So there's a great deal of profit that is being made at a publicly owned facility at which the public puts more on an ongoing basis into its upkeep. So that might be your answer, Senator Nelson, is the Vikings could maybe put in a little bit more because they're making literally hundreds of millions of dollars per year at this public facility in profit.
Senator Nelson, a very brief comment. We do want to move on.
Yes, very brief, I understand the full schedule. I was one of the few that were here when this deal was made, and I think some of those same comments would be like, yes, but the Vikings use it 11 days out of the year, so, or 11 games, but I would say, I think my comments were pretty clear about what I was concerned about, and hopefully the record will be abundantly clear that there will not come back to the state to pay for deferred maintenance or upgrades.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. Senator Champion, a final comment, please.
Yes, and I'll try to keep it brief,
you.
Madam Chair, and I thank you for your patience today. Senator Nelson, thank you for your, Senator Nelson?
Yes.
Thank you for your comments, and I will be as brief as possible. One is, we too want to make sure that we have a world-class stadium that can be used for many events. We also want to make sure that the city of Minneapolis has the resources that it needs in order to make sure that it's an inviting place for, one, its residents, but also for any guests that come to the city as well. What you should also be assured of is that remember that there are 4 tranches, the other 3 tranches stay in place. And if there was a need, and I even said this to the Sports Authority, if there was a need for more money for improvements, then there is appropriate way to do that, which is to go and make sure that you open up that portion and increase the amount, and so that both the Vikings and the city would pay for that. But it is not fiscally responsible for just one partner to pay double for something. Here's the other thing. Capital improvements and our contributions will always be there. I told you about the other capital improvements that could be shared, but also this pot of money is to help with conventions and to help with other things so that we can attract folks to the great state of Minnesota. And so we don't foresee there being a need to come back and ask for anything, but guess what? We know that this is the legislature, people do things, and there will be no need for deferred work because there is an active, ongoing contribution that's made to do improvements for the stadium. That doesn't change. It doesn't change at all. So hopefully that you will see the value in that and also see that the city of Minneapolis is committed to its agreement. That's why they're still paying $150 million on bonds that have now been retired. And so we did not come asking for grace there, although I think it would have been appropriate, but I'm not asking for that. This is a very narrow and tailored way by which to make sure that the city can continue to do the work that they need to do. Thank you, Senator Nelson. And if I can answer any other questions offline, I'll be more than happy to do that, as well as with Senator Weber, because I was going to try to reach you yesterday, and I know that you are the lead, but you were away, and so I just want you to know that we're available for you.
Thank you very much, Senator Champion, Ms. Gilden, and City Council Member Rainville. We appreciate your testimony in presenting this bill today. And Senate File 4872 as amendment will be laid over.
And just so that you know, Madam Chair, if anyone wants to talk to the PGA, they're also here, so if someone has a question for them as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Because this is deadline week, we are, people are involved in other committees, so we're going to be moving around in our schedule. So next up now is going to be Senate File 3709. Senator Paul.
Thank you, Chair Russ and members.
Go ahead, fine.
Thank you for the opportunity to hear this bill, Senate File
But Senator Paul, I believe
3709.
you have an author's amendment. Senator
We do.
Hauschild authors the A3 amendment. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, say no. Motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. Senator Paul.
Thank you, Chair Russ.
And we need you to go through your bill section by section first. and
I
then we
sure
can-
will.
Then we can turn to your testifiers.
Thank you, Chair Russ. So this bill funds two projects, the community center and city hall renovations. And Chair Russ, starting with section 1, subdivision 1, it talks about the sale and use tax authorization, authorizing the city to impose a local sales tax of up to 0.5%. That's listed on subdivision 2 for those projects. For subdivision 2, for the use of the sales tax, it goes over the $7 million community center project and also the $3 million city hall renovation projects is what's included in there. Subdivision 3 is the bonding authority authorizing the city to issue bonds to finance the projects listed in subdivision 2, if approved by the voters as required under current law. Subdivision 4 talks about the termination of taxes, requires the tax to terminate after the earlier of 20 years or when the city determines sufficient funds have already been raised to pay for the projects and financing costs. And this would be effective upon the filing of local approval with the Secretary of State. Chair Russ and members, for the city of Osseo, nearly 40% of all taxable sales in Osseo comes from non-residents. And 58% of the renters that uses the community center that we're asking for this project are from outside the city. This bill would allow the people who uses Osseo's amenities and services who don't live in the city of Osseo to help them pay for the upkeep. Osseo is a very small city with just 2,600 residents, but it is a regional hub. I know I'm one that do not live in the city of Osseo, even though they're in my district. I'm in Brookwood Park, but I visit there all the time. I eat there, I reserve their community center there, I'm always in the city. And it's a prime example of people who do not live in that city, but do come to the city for many amenities and services. So members and Chair Russ, I ask for your consideration of this bill.
Thank you, Senator Paul. In the packets, there were two amendments. We adopted the A3. I want to be sure people understand that. Not, the A2 was also in the packet, but it was replaced by the A3. Is that clear to everyone? Okay, thank you very much. And the impact of that is respect for the guidelines that we have for these projects and the do not include local sales tax being used for parks. Any questions for Senator Pop before we go to her testifiers? Seeing none, I welcome Dwayne Pop, the mayor of Osseo.
Thank you, appreciate it. Good
And
morning.
you need to identify yourself for the record,
Yes,
please.
Dwayne Poppy, the mayor of the
Poppy.
city of Osseo. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Dwayne Poppy. I serve as the mayor of the city of Osseo, so thank you for this opportunity to testify today. Osseo is a town, as mentioned, of only 2,600 people, but our public facilities serve much larger regional population across the Northwest Metro. Every day, people from surrounding communities rely on the City Hall, our public safety services, and our community programming. While requesting today is a straightforward, truly democratic, and the authority to ask our voters whether to implement a 0.5% sales tax to fund two specific capital projects, the new community center and needed improvements to our City Hall. These are not purely local assets, they are regional assets. Our current community center is already at capacity, and nearly 60% of its users come from outside of Osseo. It serves thousands of youth, families, and seniors across multiple communities, providing affordable and free access to recreation and programming. Similarly, City Hall functions our regional hub, housing police, fire service operations under mutual aid, and even the only self-service Hennepin County Library branch used daily by residents as well as community members beyond our borders. The challenge is this: our infrastructure serves a regional population, but our tax base is local and small. Osseo is only 1 square mile, with a quarter of the land mass is non-revenue producing, between the churches, schools, and cemeteries. We cannot reasonably fund these improvements through property taxes alone, especially with a significant share of the users being non-residents. A local option sales tax is most equitable solution and ensures that these who use the facilities, including the visitors, help contribute to their cost. This proposal is fiscally responsible. It's limited to a specific capital project only. It raises approximately $10 million over the term, and it sunsets once those costs are paid, no longer than the 20 years. Just as important, this request does not impose a tax today. It simply gives our residents the opportunity to vote on it this November. In short, this is about fairness, regional responsibility, and local control for the little hamlet of living that we call Osseo. We respectfully thank you for this opportunity and for your support.
Thank you, Mayor Poppy. Next, we have the city administrator, police chief, the city of Osseo, Mr. Mickelson.
Good morning. My name is Shane Michelson. I'm currently the
Michelson.
city administrator for the city of Osseo. Chair Rest and members of the committee, I am the city administrator / police chief. I do both roles for the city, as Madam Chair had stated. I appreciate the opportunity to testify in support of our request for a 0.5% local sales tax. Osseo is a unique community. While we are just over 1 square mile in size, our impact extends far beyond our borders. I call us the postage stamp of Northwest Hennepin County. We are surrounded by Maple Grove and Brooklyn Park, and they use our services. And many in those cities call Osseo their actual home city. In fact, we get many calls for service where people think they actually live in the city of Osseo because we share a zip code. As we watch these large developments being built on our city borders, we started to see as a city staff that our regional assets were starting to be used more and more. We've become a regional hub for shopping, senior and youth programming, and pedestrian accessible amenities. However, this regional draw puts a significant strain on our aging infrastructure. Our city campus, which houses our police and fire departments, the community center, and the Hennepin County Library, is struggling to keep pace. While our current facility has served us well, the 2002 Community Center addition is no longer sufficient to meet the growing needs of our residents and neighbors. This project is about creating a modern, multi-generational community center that serves us at the heart of Osseo. By investing in a new space, we can provide the high-quality programming and gathering areas that our community and our neighbors increasingly demand. The core of our city hall was built in 1968, and its current split-level entrance is obsolete. This project is not merely a facelift, it is necessary modernization to meet the needs of a 2026 public. We will move our council chambers from the basement to the main level, ensuring the democratic process is acceptable to the entire community. By repurposing the 24-year-old community center, we can create a new ADA-compliant entrance and expand workspace for city staff in our city hall. We are implementing structural safety and healthy building standards to ensure a productive environment for our staff and visitors alike. At the core of this proposal is accessibility. Our current, like I said, our current split entrance is obsolete and creates barriers. A new community center would be designed with universal ADA-compliant access from ground up. By moving our public meeting spaces and community rooms to the main level, we're ensuring that every member of our community, regardless of mobility, can participate in city life. The data supports the facts that Osseo serves a regional audience. In one fact, the Hennepin County Library on our campus saw a 49% increase in visitor traffic, totaling 9,000 visitors in 2025. While we provide ourselves in a close-knit service to small city can provide, our size creates financial restrictions, as Mayor Poppe has said. We operate on a $3.5 million budget with a total bonding capacity of $13 million. Funding a project of this scale through traditional means would effectively exhaust our bonding capacity, leaving us unable to address ongoing infrastructure needs for the years to come. A local option sales tax allows us to distribute the cost of these improvements among the thousands of visitors who utilize our facilities rather than placing the entire burden on our local property taxpayers. I'd like to thank you for your time and consideration for the future of Osseo.
Thank you very much. We usually fine people a quarter for using the word option. There is
Sorry.
no such thing as a local
Got it.
option sales tax for the last 7 years now, but I'm going to waive the fine for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are there questions or comments for Senator Pah or the mayor or the police chief? Seeing none, thank you very much, Senator
Thank
Pah.
you.
Senate File
Thank you, Senator Russ.
3709 is laid over, amended by the A3 amendment. Next. Senator-
Was there a way for me to testify?
Oh, I'm sorry. Your name is right there in front of me, and I overlooked it. Mr. Nelson, we welcome your testimony.
I'm sorry. My name is Kenny Nelson, for the record. I'm currently sitting on Long Island as I just delivered a truckload of Minnesota-made cabinets out here, as I've been doing for the last 18 years. I moved to Osseo in 2015. In 2019, we were having a street project done, and my wife asked several questions about the process that I did not know. I took the time to listen back 10 years worth of city council meetings, and I watched every single meeting since then. In 2020, I was appointed to the city's planning commission and eventually served on the Economic Development Authority and the Public Safety Advisory Committee. I also ran a Facebook community page focused on informing local residents of the happenings in town. In my time in the city, I have been assessed thousands of dollars for an alleyway project, even more thousands of dollars for a street project. My property taxes have doubled. I've seen taxes enacted on charitable gambling. Over the next few years, my water bill will increase to over $400 a year. And the city is committed to spending nearly $3 million to open a dispensary. It probably won't open this year. There are three principles I wish to oppose this bill and give testimony for. Number one, sales taxes are regressive. I don't need to preach to you about that argument. You guys can make it much better than I could. My community is not an affluent neighborhood. The median household income around Osseo is $62,000. According to the city's own numbers, 60% of this sales tax burden would fall on residents. My numbers are at 1% because that's what this was until this week. That number would equate to $175 a year per residence. My family of four would be looking at $700 a year. Second, the League of Minnesota Cities says sales taxes can only be used for regionally significant capital projects that can't be financed through other sources. The city council and the staff have described this community center as a wedding venue or micro wedding venue that would be booked every weekend for years in advance. Even wedding venue, Osseo is a square mile town between Brooklyn Park and Maple Grove, about 2 miles south of Champlin. Within 5 miles of Osseo, you would find the Champlin Community Center, the Brooklyn Park Community Center, along with the Maple Grove Community Center. We would also find 3 major branches of the Hennepin County Library with similar meeting spaces. More importantly, the city already has a community center that is used often and multiple times a week and is affordable. As a resident, I can rent it for $100 on a weekend. Non-residents are $300 a weekend. That is why our community center is so busy. It's the most affordable in the entire region. A new community center would not be this affordable. The only reason the city wants to replace the community center is it needs to make room for the police department, which has doubled in size since 2020. In fact, Osseo has the highest number of police officers per capita in the entire state of 4.8 per 1,000 residents. The state average is more like 1.8 to 2.4 for our neighbors. This also plays into the financing aspect. As since 2020, the city has increased its police budget by more than $1 million a year. Our last year, our city budget was $4.8 million. $2.2 million of that was for the police, with another $430,000 for the fire department. The year previous, it was over 50% of the budget. The second aspect is that the city, in its investment in the cannabis dispensary, has said they're going to make tremendous profits that will reduce tax burdens. If they're going to do this, I'm not sure why we need to pay a sales tax. The third and final reason I do not support this bill has been the process the city has followed. On October 27th of this year, they finally presented the public study they did for the sales tax during a work session. According to the city's own material, the next step of staff was to gather community feedback. They did not do that. They have not held a public hearing. They did not post. They did not have a town hall. They haven't posted on their social media. They haven't used the city's newsletter to ask for feedback. A few weeks later, on November 10th, during the regularly scheduled council meeting, they brought forward a proposal to ask for this legislation. They tabled it for 2 weeks to figure out if staff could figure out how to get them more money. Finally, on November 24th, the next council meeting, they passed the resolution. Since that day, they have yet to hold a town hall, feedback on these projects. There has been no renderings, detailed plans, or other than a vague box in a park of what this community center would look like. They have, however, said they would hold a town hall if this passes the state legislation, but they would only take questions that were asked in advance and online and made no guarantees to answer all the questions. That's a major red flag for me, as this council has already stated multiple inconsistencies with their own bill. The city council, despite on Monday knowing that this was going to receive a hearing, did not even amend their agenda. They haven't asked to amend this bill. I don't know what that it brings forward, but the only time they brought it up was during comments, and one council person didn't even know that the city was going to reduce what they were asking for 0.5%. The city is in not great financial conditions because the city continues to invest overly in the police. That is why we are in a financial, and that is why they're asking for more taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. I will point out to you that the guidelines for local sales taxes. And this committee was the reason, not the city's request, to reduce the tax rate from 1% to 0.5%. But thank you very much for your perspective. We appreciate it, and I apologize for not calling on you before we laid the bill over. But thank you very, very much.
No, thank you. My wife was in Crystal for many years, and she has nothing but great things to say about you. So thank you.
Thank you. The next bill then is Senate File 4606, Senator Mathews. Senator Mathews also brings us a A1 amendment. Senator Rothschild moves the A1 amendment. It's an author's amendment. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion prevails, and the amendment is adopted. Senator Mathews, Senate File 4606, as amended.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the testimony and the invitation to testify on this bill. Members, the amendment is just to correct some references to make sure that references to counties were consistent throughout the bill. To walk through the sections of this bill, Madam Chair, this is to authorize a local sales tax in Sherburne County for 1/4% up to 20 years for the law enforcement center. So section 1 of the bill is the authorizing language for that 1/4% sales tax if it is approved by the voters. Subdivision 2 will direct those funds up to $75 million in total for the law enforcement center in Sherburne County. Subdivision 3 authorizes the payment of those funds for the purposes that are outlined. And subdivision 4 is the timeline that requires this to expire at 20 years or if the amount has been met prior to that point. So I am grateful for you allowing this bill to be heard. The county, I believe, will tell you they got a lot of information about this situation in early February and asked me to ask you to allow this bill to be considered anyway, and we are grateful that you were gracious to allow a late bill in the process on this. So I'm happy to turn it over to my testifiers. We have County Commissioner Danielowski, as well as County Sheriff Brott and County Administrator Messelt available for questions as well.
Thank you, Senator Mathews. We were certainly satisfied that the situation that was facing Sherburne County came across after the deadlines for resolution from the county, and I'm happy to accommodate more or less an emergency request moving forward with regard to their request.
Thank you.
We'll begin. Are there any questions? Seeing none. The Sherburne County Commissioner, if you would identify yourself, please, for the record, and begin your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Rest. Good morning, and committee members. My name is Rayanne Danielowski, and I serve as a Sherburne County Commissioner, and I am the 2026 Board Chair. I want to thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity to testify in support of Senate File 4606 for the county's local sales tax request. And thank you to Senator Mathews for authoring this legislation on our behalf. Madam Chair, we appreciate your generosity in granting us a hearing despite our late request. We are very grateful. Only late last year did our project team learn that construction cost estimates for Phase 1 had increased from approximately $27 million to $45 million. This was despite our best efforts to pare down the overall project and rescope each planned phase. And then we learned on January 23rd of this year that our request for federal funding was approved by Congress. Despite only receiving $2.5 million, this funding now makes this project viable to move forward. Knowing that waiting until the 2028 election would effectively doom any chance to consider this funding option without significant delay and increased cost, we acted as quickly as possible in early February to request legislative approval. Thus, we are here today to ask for your assistance to allow our voters the chance to approve a 0.25 local sales tax for up to 20 years to fund up to $75 million in much-needed improvements to the county's law enforcement center. Sherburne County proudly serves not only our county population, but the state of Minnesota and upper Midwest by providing a regional correctional facility to intake, house, and provide mental health and medical assessments to an average daily population of over 400 detainees and inmates. Sherburne County is the only regional housing facility for the United States Marshal Service in the state of Minnesota. The federal component of our law enforcement center employs approximately 150 full-time employees, translating to 193 indirect, high-paying, and steady jobs, and an economic impact of some $109 million. To continue supporting the current level of activity, we need to undertake critical replacement and improvement to the building's 45-year-old infrastructure. These areas include our intake, booking, mental health, medical assessment spaces, secure ingress and egress, sally port, and special management area. Thank you for considering our request. We appreciate the committee's time. I also have with me County Sheriff Joel Broad, our County Administrator Bruce Messelt, to assist with answering any technical questions you may have. Thank you again so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner. Are there any questions for the Commissioner or any technical questions for the other two folks who are here on behalf of Sherburne County? Seeing none, thank you very much, Senator Mathews. Senate File 4606, as amended by the A1, will be laid over.
Thank you very much.
We will now return to the two bills from Senator Rarick, beginning with Senate File 4793. Welcome to the committee, Senator Rarick. Senate File 4793 is accompanied by the A1 amendment. Senator Housechild moves the A1 amendment. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, say no. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. Senator Rarick, Senate File 4793.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to start by thanking you for the flexibility. This time of year, we need to be in 3 places at one time, so
Of course.
I appreciate you shifting the agenda to accommodate my schedule. Senate File 4793 is a bill that relates to property tax exemption that would provide a clinic operated by the Fond du Lac Band in Duluth, this property tax exemption. It would increase the number of parcels eligible for the exemption from 3 to 5. The reason that is needed: when this exemption was first given to the facility, they did not anticipate adding in this parking lot area and others, so which are not contiguous, and that's what the amendment dealt with, was clarifying that they're not necessarily contiguous, but it's all part of the clinic facility. And so, Madam Chair, members, you know, again, this is a healthcare facility that would also receive, you know, potential for property tax exemption. And even though it's not on the band's property, they offer services to many others. And like I said, the facility in itself being medical would also could qualify for property tax exemption. Thus, we are asking for that extension for the up to 5 parcels for this, for their medical facility. And I will, happy to answer any
So,
technical
I'm
questions.
a little bit confused. It's the amendment on line 1.15 indicates an ability to add an additional 3. I thought you just said 1, but are there 5? Ms. Pollock, are there 5 projects here? Or whoever did this?
Madam Chair, members, so my understanding is,
Mr. Sylvia.
when the bill and the exemption was initially enacted in 2017, the medical clinic itself covered 2 parcels.
I see.
And now the parking lot is being added on line 1.13, which expands beyond the 2, so it's being increased to 5 parcels total. But the parking lot parcels are not contiguous to the parcels that cover the medical clinic themselves, so that's why the
That's why it's 5.
contiguous is being removed.
Yes. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Any other questions for Senator Rarick and the amendment? Your bill is just one section, and you explained it, so thank you very much. Are there questions? Mr. LeBeau, did you have any comments to make in support of the bill?
Thank you, Madam
Welcome
Chair.
to the committee. If you'd identify yourself for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Reed LeBeau on behalf of the Fond du Lac Band. I don't have anything to add. I'm happy to answer any questions the committee might have.
Okay, any questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you very much, Senator Rarick. Senate File 4793 is amended, is laid over.
Thank you.
The next bill is also Senator Rarick's. It is Senate File 4794. It is a similar bill, but there's no need for an amendment. Senator Rarick, if you would explain Section 1.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. Yeah, this is a very similar, is dealing with a different piece of land, but this bill would grant property tax exempt status to a parcel of land that is wholly within the Fond du Lac Reservation, but it is on fee land. It is a very limited exception to one parcel of land that has a facility on it, a warehouse that is used to store medical equipment and materials. It also, they also store or keep a mobile healthcare, where is it? Their mobile cancer screening unit is also stored on this site. So again, it is a healthcare-related activity that happens on this one piece of property, and they are looking to get that property tax exemption on that as well.
Okay, any questions for Senator Rarick on 4794? Very similar to the previous one. This is for Carleton County. Senator Hemmingson-Yager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just kind of shifting my mind, going from very specific, like local projects to kind of now these 2 bills, actually. So these are looking at property owned by any Indian tribe. We're not focusing just specifically on one, correct?
Senator Rarick.
Madam Chair, Senator Hemmingson-Yager, these 2 bills are very specific to parcels that the Fond du Lac Band owns, so it would only apply to these parcels. It's not, I think, it's my belief that anyone else, any other, a different tribe that would have different parcels would have to come in to have them individually considered.
It's not a general exemption.
Okay.
And there are ways of describing which tribe has this by describing what the exemption is for, rather than naming the tribe. If
Thank
that
you.
was part of
Appreciate
your
that.
question, I think, as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. LeBeau, any comment?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
And if you would just say your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Reed LeBeau on behalf of the Fond du Lac Band.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, Senate File 4794 is laid over.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is Senator Kupec here? Senator Weber. Senator Weber brings us Senate File 4417. Senator Weber has an author's amendment. It is the A1. Senator Weber moves the A1 amendment. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. Senator Weber.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members.
And excuse
Senate
me.
File 4417 as.
Senator Weber, just, would you, when you're going through the sections, would you explain how your amendment changes the bill?
Definitely, yes.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Madam Chair. As we go through Senate File 4417, basically, again, this is for a sales and use tax, a sales tax for the city of Windom. Subdivision 1, of course, grants them the authorization for implementing that sales tax. And also, it is amended to now include a total of a 0.5% sales tax for the purposes delineated below. The subdivision 2 has been changed. There were 2 projects that were listed here. The amendment reduces that to 1, which is $8 million for the swimming pool project. Going into subdivision 3, of course, it grants them the permission to use the bonds for that specific purpose, and again, adjust the amount on 2.3 to $8 million. And then, of course, the rest of the language is standard language as it relates to termination of taxes, which would now has been changed also to run instead of 18 years to 30 years. The purpose for this swimming pool project, quite frankly, is the fact that in the 14 years that I've served as the state senator for the Windom area, they have been flooded 3 times. To which I assume no responsibility. But the flooding occurs, and it's in an area that includes the school's football field, baseball diamond, and the city swimming pool. And they are going to move the swimming pool out of that particular area. And originally, the original bill did include money for some flood mitigation measures as well. The city is seeking other sources of funding to accomplish that. And with that, Madam Chair, I have City Administrator Steve Nasby with me, who can explain the project further.
Welcome to the committee. Mr. Nasby, if you'd state your name for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Steve Nasby, City Administrator, City of Windom. And as Senator Weber has outlined, this local use tax is for constructing a new swimming pool. The City of Windom has a swimming pool that we've had in the community since the 60s. It was significantly damaged during the most recent flood in 2024. We've been working with FEMA on getting some dollars for relocation of that facility. There was significant damage in it, so we're working with HSEM and FEMA to get some dollars there to potentially help us with that relocation and rebuild. The City of Windom, as a county seat in Cottonwood County, as I noted in our one-pager, we serve a very large area with our services. We have about 190 square miles that we serve with our fire department and 230 square miles with our ambulance service. Also next to us, the City of Mountain Lake, which is about 8 miles away. They closed their pool a number of years ago, and the City of Jackson is struggling with their 40-year-old facility and has closed that intermittently. So Windom is kind of the attraction for those communities as well. We offer many series of swimming lessons during our season, which is promoting the health, safety, and welfare of not only the residents of the city of Windom, but the rural residents in Jackson County, Cottonwood County, and those other communities. And so we are working with our consultants, we're working with our legislators, our federal and state to get this project over the finish line. We would like the opportunity to bring this to our voters for the 0.5%. The rationale for the timeline extension is we just don't generate that much taxable retail sales in Cottonwood County, and we were basing the 30 years based on what the current collection is. There will undoubtedly be inflationary organic growth in that sales tax number over the next couple of decades, so we anticipate this local option sales or local tax will be terminated earlier than the 30 years, but we are asking for that term just so we can make sure that we can secure our bonds for the project, and I'd stand for any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there questions or comments for Mr. Nasby or Senator Weber? Seeing none, Senate File 4417 as amended is laid over. Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you, Madam
Thank you,
Chair.
Madam Chair.
We have 4 other bills on our agenda. I'm going to be presenting the ones on behalf of Senator Miller, who is attending a business meeting that is also connected with WrestleMania. And so we wanted to hear his bills, and I agreed to become a co-author so that I could present them today while he attends to business. Senator Dibble is going to chair for me. Now, if you press that, you can just stay there. Yep, yep.
Can he sit next to me, please, just in case?
What?
Can he sit next to me, please, just in case?
What?
Can he sit next to me, please, just in case I need to talk to him about stuff?
I don't think you'll need to do that.
Okay.
Well, I see, because Senator Dibble, if you want to sit up here, that's fine too. I don't care. I don't think we're going to run into any complications.
So we're hearing all three of them, Senator Miller, or just?
Yep, all 3.
Okay.
So we're going to start with 2 of them have amendments.
Okay.
All the testifiers are Zoom.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Welcome, Madam Chair. Senate file, we'll start with Senate file 4308. Madam Chair, I believe there's an A1. Would you like to move it?
Yes, please.
Senator Rest moves the A1 amendment, author's amendment. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Senator Rest.
So again, I have those 3 bills. I don't have the agenda in front of me, so it's 4308.
4308. Yep.
Okay.
Lanesboro.
Thank you very much. The Senate File 4308 is also a proposal to impose a local sales tax, and we have amended it. Mr. Chairman, the amendment did not make it into Senator Miller's bill folder, so if someone could bring me that amendment, if I need to refer to it.
Senator Drazkowski is running the A1 to you.
Thank you, sir, appreciate it.
Gets double pay today as a senator and as a page.
I did read the bill over, but I'm going to ask Ms. Pollock, would you explain the effect of the A1 amendment.
Ms. Pollitt.
Mr. Chair, members, the A1 amendment is technical. It just moves the notwithstanding language on 1.15 and 1.16 to only apply to Clause 2 on 1.21. That definition, or the notwithstanding clause is pertaining to the definition of a capital project. And so we would only need to notwithstand the road improvement project, not the improvements to the park in Clause 1 on 1.20.
Okay,
Senator Rose.
thank you very much. So Senate File 4308 is offered on behalf of the city of Lanesboro. It is a local sales tax. And subdivision 1, now the language is precise with regard to the notwithstanding clauses. In subdivision 2 are the two projects that are being proposed. There's no issue with the first one. We will have to think long and hard about the second one because the notwithstanding clauses and the current law, not my guidelines or not the Senate guidelines, is for a road project, which are specifically not permitted. But on behalf of Senator Miller, I decided to go ahead and hear their case for this bill, and that's simply what it is. So I believe Mayor Pearson is present.
Yes, I believe Mayor Pearson and City Administrator Walbridge are joining us remotely? Remotely, so if they can
Remotely,
please
thank you.
pop on via Zoom.
Thank you.
And please, whoever wants to start, please introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Hello, and thank you to the chair and members of the Senate Taxes Committee, and thank you to Senator Miller. My name is Alicia Pearson, and I'm the mayor of Lanesboro, Minnesota, speaking in reference to Senate File 4308 for a 0.5% local sales tax in Lanesboro. This is my first time speaking for the Senate, and I'm honored to speak on behalf of the City Council and the community of Lanesboro. And our community has spoken very clearly. The City Council has heard from numerous residents and small business owners who understand that dependable public infrastructure is essential to our community's future. Reliable water, sewer, streets, and public facilities are fundamental to everyday life in Lanesboro, but they're also fundamental to the regional economy we support. Our community of less than 800 residents welcomes hundreds of thousands of visitors each year, driving millions of dollars to our region, and every one of them rely on the facilities functioning safely and reliably. If those systems fail or fall behind, as we've already seen, the impacts extend far beyond our city limits. The City Council also understands that mounting inflationary pressure means that delaying is one of the most expensive things we can do. Construction, materials, and labor costs continue to escalate. A modest local sales tax gives us a fiscally responsible tool that helps us keep pace with those realities while protecting affordability for our residents and small locally owned businesses. This approach also aims for fairness. Lanesboro is so thankful for the tourism that we experience, and tourism at this scale has a tangible effect on our infrastructure. A local sales tax ensures that visitors who make extensive use of our infrastructure help pay for a fraction of the cost, rather than placing that burden solely on our small year-round population. This proposal is locally driven, carefully considered, and rooted in stewardship. With that, if approved by the chair, I'd like to turn it over to City Administrator Walbridge for more context.
Thank you, Mayor Pearson. Any questions at this point for Mayor Pearson? All right, welcome, Administrator Walbridge. Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Mitchell Walbridge, the City Administrator in Lanesboro, Minnesota. I'd like to extend a thank you to Senator Rest for facilitating the discussion on our bill this morning, as well as to Senator Miller for also drafting the language for this bill. Thank you to the committee for the opportunity to appear before you today. On behalf of the city of Lanesboro, its residents, business owners, and its elected leaders, I want to express our appreciation for your willingness to hear our request. We recognize and respect that one of the projects included in our city council resolution pertaining to road and utility improvements along Minnesota Trunk Highway 250 within the city of Lanesboro does not fall squarely within the traditional statutory definition of a capital project. We do not minimize that reality. Instead, we're asking the committee to consider the essential nature of this infrastructure and its central importance to Lanesboro's long-term financial and economic well-being as you weigh our request. There is a strong, broad-based local support for this authorization. The City Council acted with the backing of residents and small business owners who understand both the need for these investments and the responsibility that comes with them. This proposal reflects the community consensus that maintaining safe, functional public infrastructure is not optional, but rather fundamental to our small rural city. The Trunk Highway 250 project is especially time sensitive. Much of the water and sewer infrastructure beneath the roadway is more than 100 years old and is well beyond its intended useful life. MnDOT's scheduled resurfacing presents a narrow, fiscally responsible opportunity to replace these utilities while the roadway is already under construction. While the city would have preferred to undertake the utility work later after paying down existing debt and further along in our utility improvement plan, we know that deferring these replacements could expose the city of Lanesboro to higher future costs, repeated disruption to our business corridor, and unacceptable risks to service reliability and public safety. Importantly, this resolution passed by the City Council of Lanesboro also included a second project that does unequivocally meet the statutory definition of the capital projects, improvements within our city park. These improvements will include the construction, replacement, and modernization of our recreational facilities, upgrades to our athletic courts, and significant campground infrastructure investments. Mr. Chair and members, we appreciate that this request before you is being heard, and we are welcoming any questions that members may have at this time.
Great, thank you. Any questions for the mayor or the city administrator at this point? I'll just mention a couple of things. One is I visited Lanesboro myself. I've been one of those tourists. It's a beautiful town on the Red River, or the Root River. You know, I can understand that Lanesboro definitely punches a little above its weight and has a lot of visitors that put a lot of pressure on its facilities and its infrastructure. I would recommend it to anyone. It's beautiful, bluff country. I will also mention, as I always do when these transportation projects, especially trunk highways, are coming through a town and a town wants to use sales tax to take care of its local responsibilities with respect to these state-owned roads, that we have the newly in place MnDOT local unit of government cost participation policy made possible by the work of this legislature and making more revenue available to our transportation system. And that means that MnDOT is now in a position and has an official policy of paying for more of those local elements of those projects. So if you haven't yet taken a look at the cost participation policy and how Lanesboro might benefit and bring your price point down on what you're contributing to the trunk highway that comes through your community, I would commend you to take a look at that and figure out what you might be able to benefit from our newly in place policy. It's the good news story of the year. So just want to make sure every local community is aware of that. All right. Anything further, members? Anything further, Senator Rest?
Mr. Chairman, no, I have nothing further.
All right. So we'll lay Senate File 4308 as amended over for possible inclusion. Senator Rest, we'll move on to Senate File 4647.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Senate File 4647 is offered by Senator Miller and myself on behalf of the city of Caledonia. In your folders, you will see a copy of the resolution passed by the city council. There is no amendment. Section 1 of the bill is the authorization for 1/4%. Subdivision 2 refers to a construction of a public safety center to the tune of $1.6 million. And subdivision 3 is the bonding authority, and subdivision 4 indicates where the termination is going to occur, and this is a very unusual one. We don't usually get something that is less than the length of a bond, like 20 years. And so I'm assuming that the costs here, because the period of the sales tax on page 2, line 8, is for 10 years, that they are doing it on a pay-as-you-go business. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Jake Dixon is prepared to testify on behalf of the city of Caledonia.
Thank you, Senator Rest. Yes, Jake Dixon is also joining us remotely from Caledonia. So, Mr. Dixon, if you could introduce yourself and proceed with your testimony.
Morning, Chair, members of the Tax Committee. I want to thank you for allowing us to testify after getting in past the deadline. Caledonia is in the very far southeastern corner of Minnesota. We have about 2,900 residents. And you mentioned just punching above your weight class, our fire department serves about 140 square miles and 5,500 residents. Our ambulance serves 225 square miles, including the southeastern corner of Minnesota and into northern Iowa. And we are currently operating out of a station that doesn't fit a number of our trucks. Our ladder truck has to be kept in another warehouse somewhere else. Our ambulances are in an old gas station across the street, and we are looking for a way to get ahead to try to establish a new footprint, a new public safety center to serve our residents and outside of our city limits as well. We have a kind of a rare circumstance where both of our ambulance and our fire department are fully staffed. We're not struggling for personnel, but we're struggling for space. As I mentioned, our bays are too short to fit our ladder truck, and future trucks that we've looked at, we have to order custom ones if they want to fit because they need to be less than 32 feet long. We have no decontamination space. We have very little training space, very little storage space. And then in our police department, we have no interview room. We have to share that with the limited training space that we have. So with this local tax, we can get ahead as far as planning financially for this public safety center. And then, as you mentioned, we're kind of paying as we go because we also have our city electric utility that will support this project into the future. And then with this, if we're able to construct a public safety center, then that will allow us to free up some space in our city hall, working on another library project as well, and then to allow for some updates that have been lacking in the last 50 years or so. So we are, as I said, hoping to get this across so that we can really move our public safety services into the future and better serve our residents and those surrounding us. I can take any questions.
All right, thank you, City Clerk, City Administrator Dixon. Any questions? Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a question for perhaps our staff. On line 2.5 and 2.6, I just don't recall seeing this language before, but perhaps it's boilerplate. A separate election to approve the bonds under Minnesota statute, section 475.58 is not required. Is that typical for us to specify that a vote by the city is not required?
Ms. Pollack?
Mr. Chair, Senator Nelson, yes, this language is standard in local sales tax authorizations.
Thank you.
The vote would be to approve the imposition of the tax, not the bonding.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll just mention, I spent a lot of time in Caledonia too, as it happens. Used to be related to someone who grew up there, and Madam Chair, Matt Mossman, who we remember, grew up in Caledonia as well. So wonderful little town, also in the heart of Bluff Country. So it's a beautiful place. Anything further, Madam Chair?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we will, with that, we will lay Senate File 4647 over, was not amended, for possible inclusion. All right, and we will move on to Senate File 4998. And Madam Chair, would you like to move the A1?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move the A1 amendment.
All right, Senator Rest moves the A1, authors amendment. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Senator Rest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This does not have to do with the local sales tax. It has to do with not, or having a disparity reduction aid to Fillmore County being authorized, but then not being either distributed or claimed for the years 24 and 25. And what this does is allow that disparity reduction aid to be distributed and therefore recognized. It's, I believe, a very unusual circumstance, but that is what has happened, and they're asking that that disparity reduction aid now be included and available to them. The amendment adjusts further the amounts that were in the original bill. That is a layperson's explanation of what the situation was, and I would ask that you call on the testifier to explain it further.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have Bobby Hillary, County Administrator for Fillmore County, joining us remotely from Fillmore County. Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Bobby Hillary, and I am the Fillmore County Administrator. I appreciate Senator Rest representing us on behalf of Mr. Miller. It's been an interesting road for us. So we had found out during our audit of 2024 of no disparity aid coming in. We did not understand why. Luckily, the great people at the Department of Revenue met with us, and it was not in our PRISM report. After further investigation, we figured out that in 2022, we started the transition of our CAMA tax to the AS400. Most of you know it as the green screen. We invested in Tyler Technologies. So we had transitioned to a new software. The new software has the disparity aid in a different section, and our team was not trained on that. So we had not put the disparity aid in based upon the new software. By the time we figured that out, 2025 had already been calculated. So we were out of disparity aid for 2024 and 2025. So the disparity aid that is certified did not come to Fillmore County, and the taxpayers paid the full tax amount for the county for those 2 years. As we reached out and worked with the Department of Revenue, they had noted that legislation would be required to get those dollars if we could try to get them back. And we really appreciate the opportunity to be before all the committee members today and hope that you would be willing to allow us to have those calculations done, and then we would credit the taxpayers in 2027 because that's the next viable year for tax calculation on the tax side.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Senator Rest.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know which Senate council was responsible for the amendment, but why did the amounts change? as represented in the amendment. The original bill had, first of all, 530,358, and then I'm assuming a corrected amount of 215,860, and similarly with the amounts on line 3. Where did that first calculation come from that is now corrected in the amendment?
Ms. Bursch.
Chair Dibble and Senator Rest. So there are two components of this calculation. DOR initially certifies the maximum amount of disparity reduction aid that each jurisdiction may receive, and then later counties actually apply that amount based on who qualifies and what the amount should be. So they make more specific calculations based on the guidance in statute. And the amount that they apply can be less than the maximum that was certified. So the amount that was in the bill as introduced were the maximums that were certified for Fillmore County in 2024 and 2025. And the amounts that are being inserted by the A1 are the amounts that actually would have been paid out as calculated by DOR.
Senator Rest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that clarification. I think it's important to, when numbers change so directly, so dramatically in a bill like this, that we understand why.
Great, thank you. Anything further, members? Anything further, Senator Rest?
No, sir.
So we will lay Senate File 4998 as amended over for possible inclusion. Senator Rest, Senator Kupec and Senator Johnson are here. Did you want to take the gavel back?
Oh, they are here.
Yeah.
Great. Yes, I'll be
All right.
right there.
Do you want to sign in? Just kidding. Yeah, I'll send it to them. Do you have another signing sheet too for the testifiers?
Senator Kupec brings us Senate File 2754. He is joined at the witness table by Senator Johnson. Senator Johnson had a similar bill regarding border cities, and they worked together to put Senator Johnson's concerns and language into Senator Kupec's bill by amendment. So Senator Senator Putnam offers on behalf of Senator Kupec the A6 amendment. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. Senator Kupec, if you want to explain the bill, incorporating the language of the amendment, we would welcome that. And Senator Johnson, at any point, if you would like to add your comments, please do so. Senator Kupec.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think I will do the bill part, and Senator Johnson will explain the amendment part that is his going on. So this is a bill that you actually, my bill, you heard last year. It is about the border city tax credit. And their first change, and this, I learned something new today. Last year, we took out the money part of the bill and amended that, and I did not realize if you amend that and it doesn't, and it lays over, it doesn't get engrossed. So The thing we just adopted, the first part of the amendment is we just took the money part out. So there is no money part again in the bill. What the bill does, I'll go through it in section 1, which is gone, so there is no money. Section 2 authorizes types. It increases the income tax credit available for employers to certain additional workers. It eliminates a restriction that to qualify for a tax reduction, a qualifying city must designate an area within the city that's at least 100 acres, but less than 400 acres, in which tax reduction may be provided. It also allows a reduction to be used for reimbursement of land acquisition costs for businesses expansion within the zone if the city determines that that expansion is necessary to prevent relocation outside of the state. Section 3 is restrictions. It allows tax reductions to be used on recreation or entertainment facilities, private or commercial golf courses, country clubs, massage parlors, tennis clubs, skating facilities, including roller skating, skateboarding, ice skating, and request sports facilities. And section 4, the designation provides that the cities of Dilworth, Moorhead, Ortonville, and East Grand Forks may designate, or actually East Grand Forks was already in there, may designate all or any parts of this city as a zone effective at the date of enactment. And then section 5 is the repealer. This repeals Minnesota statute 469171, additional border tax reductions, and subdivision 6A, additional border city allocations. And so what we're really trying to do here is modernize a bill that was put in the 80s. And as our economy has changed and we've moved somewhat more to a service economy, there are things that we would like to do as communities to keep our service economy also thriving. And so, and within, there were also limitations on some of the places they could sit. Breckenridge and East Grand Forks did not have those restrictions. Some of that was after the flood of '97. Both of those communities saw a pretty widespread devastation, and they allowed the whole city to be encompassed. And we're asking for the other 3 cities that are in the border cities area to also have that ability to do this citywide and not constrain that. So that's kind of the details of the bill, and I'm happy to be here with Senator Johnson as well, and he can explain. His bill also had a slightly, it changed a little bit. We have a new House author, and so those jackets came over. My bill was, it's almost the same bill, but he has a couple of ththings, which I do think make the bill better, so I'm happy to bring those and have those come together.
Thank you. Just one second. I had both an A5 and an A6 amendment. Which is the correct amendment that we adopted? I want to discard the other one.
Madam Chair, the A6 replaced the A5 that was originally a member's packet, so the committee correctly adopted the A6 amendment.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the committee, Senator Johnson. If you would like to explain your additions to this border cities modernization, we welcome you.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, thank you for your time this morning. This is an important piece of legislation for the Red River Valley. It has been around, as Senator Kupec said, since the 80s, and it's simply a modernization. There were a couple of updates that we came up with. I would say the cities of Breckenridge, Moorhead, and East Grand Forks have made those recommendations, and we are adopting that into the language of the bill that was passed or put into play last year by Senator Kupec, as I was a co-author on that one as well, too. There are really 3 substantive changes that happened. If you look at line, or page 1, line 21, just adds, instead of just tax, but also reimbursements as well in that line. So it applies to reimbursements of some of those tax revenues. And then also on line, page 2, line 14, it talks a little bit more about what you can use some of this credit for as well, too. And this is about land acquisition. So if a business wants to expand in the state of Minnesota in one of these border city communities that this covers, you're able to use this for land acquisition as well. So that we've seen a few businesses want to expand, but they can't on the Minnesota side for whatever reason that might be. So they'll go and maybe go over to Fargo or Grand Forks. Or Wahpeton. So you'll have a few of those issues. So that's why we made the change there. Then you also, if you go down, the last substantive change was page 2, line 18. That puts another qualification on this. that the businesses that are applying for this funding must be in compliance with the applicable municipal licensing and regulatory requirements. So just making sure that you're not incentivizing some sort of a business, or they may have an argument that spends a lot of time and maybe attorney money on fighting for a business that may not be able to operate within city limits there as well. So those are the substantive changes that came through this summer and into this year.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. Are there questions for Senator Johnson or Senator Kupec? Senator Nelson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's always good to see the updates, and, I always like this bill when it comes to us, because it literally exemplifies why we must be competitive with our neighbors. The borders between our states define our competitiveness as far as taxes, regulations, but that does not keep commerce from either leaving our state or from expanding somewhere else. And so when I look at these border city bills to make Minnesota more competitive, I cannot help but wonder how much more Minnesota could be growing economically, more jobs, if in fact we were more competitive in many ways. And so I just think that's something that should be realized as we look at these bills, and at some point realize that the inner parts of the state, not exactly close to borders, are still at that uncompetitive disadvantage. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. Any other questions we have? Yes? Senator Dibble.
Thanks. Appreciate Senator Nelson's observation. I'll just say that
Is
I will.
this another couple of cities you visited and like a lot?
Yeah, I love Moorhead, love the Red River Valley, all those communities along rivers and are great. No, but I'm just going to say that's a great conversation starter. I won't take the bait, but I'll just say I'd love to compare all of our economic metrics and quality of life metrics and desirability metrics to any of the 5 states that surround us anytime. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Dibble. We have Ms. Bodie from the city of Moorhead. Welcome to the committee. If you would identify yourself for the record. And Ms. Brocking from the city of East Grand Forks. Ms. Bodie, please begin.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Bodie. I'm the Governmental Affairs Director for the City of Moorhead. And I want to thank you, Chair Rest, and members of the Tax Committee for hearing Senate File 2754. As Senator Kupec and Senator Johnson noted, these bills would modify the Border City Enterprise Zone to better reflect the modern economy. And thank you, Senator Kupec and Senator Johnson, for authoring these bills. A version of the Border Cities program has been in place since the 1980s, and obviously a lot has changed since then, but the policy differences between Minnesota and North Dakota have only deepened. North Dakota has increased its oil production and used the resulting revenue to offset property and income taxes. Fargo and West Fargo are using sales taxes for economic development incentives, flood control, transportation, and other forms of infrastructure. And recently, Minnesota has implemented additional benefits for workers that are paid for by employers. Businesses know that they may pay more to operate in Minnesota, and our economic development team uses every tool at their disposal to support them every step of the way in choosing Moorhead and staying in our community. Over the years, Border Cities has been one of the most effective tools available to us, but we've run into obstacles in recent years that this bill would address head on. Moorhead uses approximately 70% of its Border Cities allocations on an ongoing program to lessen the disparity of state workers' compensation premiums for a wide variety of industries. Businesses apply for these benefits and are considered on an individual basis as reviewed by deed. This is how it should work to ensure compliance with the border city statutes, but some of the restrictions in current law have proven problematic as we seek to work with the variety of employers that enrich our community. For example, 3 unique businesses that we were recently unable to assist included a privately operated pickleball facility, a scuba instruction and retail facility, and a business that rents inflatable games. All of these are local, non-franchise businesses that provide unique experiences in Moorhead. Moreover, Moorhead is currently in the process of a significant redevelopment effort spanning 18 acres of our downtown. To create the most vibrant downtown possible, the city would like to offer incentives to developers to include experience-based businesses, restaurants, and other amenities that our residents are asking for as part of commercial and housing projects in the heart of our city. Unfortunately, the current restrictions in the Border Cities program prevent us from providing benefits to many of these businesses. This bill would remove obstacles from current law that relate to business type and geography and enhance the per-employee credit we are able to provide employers within our existing Border Cities allocation. This bill is a straightforward way to enhance this program and help our community succeed. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bodie. Ms. Brocking.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. My name is Maggie Brockling, and I serve as the Economic Development Director for the City of East Grand Forks. I'm here to express my support for the Senate File 2754. We are a city of over 9,000 people directly across the Red River from Grand Forks, North Dakota, which is a city of more than 59,000. The Border Cities program assists in making Minnesota communities like ours competitive with North Dakota's lower tax rate and less mandates. So far, this program has helped retain 212 businesses since the program's inception, and it's retained 367 jobs while adding 262 new jobs to our 2024 reporting. Past uses of this have included offsetting property taxes for businesses that are looking to expand their services, construct new facilities, and add new technology. Our city has grown 33% since the Border Cities program was implemented, and we want to keep encouraging growth of our businesses to support a larger resident population. The city and our partners in the Border Cities are seeking your consideration to be more inclusive with the program by adding other industries such as recreation, hospitality, leisure and fitness-based businesses, which support a larger tax base, provide jobs, and contribute to an overall healthy economy and community. It's a big loss for our community when a company chooses to relocate over the river into North Dakota due to incentive programs and financial reasons. Our city is unable to compete with the multi-million-dollar private investments that North Dakota's made into Grand Forks. Grand Forks, North Dakota also has a state bank, and their local jobs development authority in the city has a greater funding flexibility incentives that they can offer. We in East Grand Forks continue to lose startups and established businesses and competitive opportunities in Grand Forks, North Dakota, including Walmart, U-Haul, Epitome Energy, and other large companies. The Border Cities program is our biggest tool in our toolbox for retention and expansion for businesses in Minnesota. By expanding the use of this program, we're able to assist more parts of the economic ecosystem and make Minnesota border cities a great place to live, work, and play. Thank you for your consideration and opportunity to testify. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brockling. Are there any questions or comments for the two representatives of East Grand Forks and Moorhead? Seeing none, thank you very much, Senator Johnson, Senator Kupec. Senate File 2754 as amended is laid over. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Members, we're going to be meeting Tuesday and Thursday? Tuesday and Thursday of next week, but not on Wednesday. You may plan your schedules accordingly. Thank you very much. Committee is adjourned.